Hey guys, Brent Sibley Dolman, accident injury attorneys. Again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, almost, Happy Hanukkah. We're in Hanukkah now, and I thought about what I could do for you guys who watch my channel, my social media outlets, and I thought of what I think is a good idea. So, as you guys might know, Hanukkah started last night, and in my house, we celebrate Hanukkah. In Hanukkah, we get 8 nights, traditionally one gift every night for the kiddos, which Sandler, my son, is not old enough yet, so he didn't get anything, but he gets something all the time from my wife, so it's no big deal. Anyway, back to the point. I thought, what can I do on my social media to have a fun with Hanukkah and the holiday season? And I thought about something that some of my friends have been asking me to do, because I take a lot of pride in talking about the small cases and the smaller settlements, because you don't see those on the billboards and in the videos. And I take a lot of pride that I treat my small cases, my clients that have smaller cases, really well and really like humans, even though they're not getting millions of dollars and they're not making the firm a lot of money. I think a lot of lawyers just kind of push those clients to the side. So I take a lot of pride in that. But I don't neglect my big clients, obviously. And I've been asked by some of my friends, talk about your bigger cases, talk about your bigger cases. So I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do for the next 7 nights for Hanukkah is I'm going to talk about my 7 of my biggest and most exciting cases over the last couple years. And I'm going to start with a case from a couple years ago. Actually, this case has a lot of interesting stuff in it. And a good friend of mine, his name is James. I won't say anything else about his name, and I won't give any specific information about the case because I always wanted to keep it confidential. But anyway, I met James. He was working in a business right near where I was living at the time. So I would see him all the time. And one time he said to me, hey, I actually have a case. He was putting my information in the computer. He was asking me what I do for a living. He's like, yeah, I hired this firm. I'm not going to say the name of the firm. He's like, I've talked to this paralegal. I don't even think I've ever talked to a lawyer. And I'm like, well, how old was it? He was like, it's only been a month. And I'm like, well, if you haven't spoken to a lawyer and you want to speak to a lawyer, you're entitled to switch firms. And he's like, done. Where do I sign? I'm hiring you. So he hired me. We had a great result on his case. We worked his case up, but the interesting thing was his case. He was actually hit by a postal truck. So in a case with a postal truck, it's actually a totally different area of law. It's something, it falls under the FTCPA, which is the Federal Tort Claims Act. What that does is you're going after the defendant. In that case would be the United States. So you'd actually be going against the United States government, and it has a special set of laws. Namely, the most important one is that you have to basically give them notice that you're going to be proceeding with a case against them, and they get 6 months to decide what they want to do. And you cannot file a lawsuit against the United States if that 6-month period of time hasn't gone by, where you have to use a specific form and you have to fill out everything the way they want it. You have to submit it to them with a specific number and all your evidence and all your medical records to give them a chance to respond. And they basically always wait to the very last day, and then they either say, okay, well, here's a low offer, or here's a good offer, or whatever, or here's no offer, you're going to have to sue us. So in his case, he actually had a minor neck surgery, and so we submitted our paperwork. Probably we asked for $1 million, something like that. They responded to us basically on like the last week saying, we'll offer you 100. And we negotiated the case up to 200,000, and he actually was going for a follow-up because he was still having some problems with his neck. So he went to a follow-up, and the surgeon said, the surgery went well, but you're probably a candidate for another surgery, because the way that it's complicated. But he didn't necessarily need it, but he was indicated that he could have another neck surgery that would be a more complicated surgery, and it would take a longer recovery time. So then we submitted that report to the government saying, look, he's now gone back. He's being recommended for another surgery. He's actually tentatively scheduled that surgery. He wasn't sure if he wanted it, but he found a good time that he could take off of work, so he scheduled the surgery. We sent them everything, and then I was waiting for them to respond, and they responded, and they told me that they were withdrawing their offer, and they think that maybe they could offer us $5,000. They found out that, quote unquote, my client was involved in 2 other crashes, and they think that he's basically a scammer, and yada yada yada. They're pulling their offer of $200,000, and they're only offering $5,000. So of course I had to tell my client, and he freaked out, went crazy. I was able to get both of the police reports. They were actually people with the same name as my client, same exact name, in Florida, that lived in Florida, that had Florida car crashes with the same name. So whatever software the government insurance adjuster paralegal lady was using, she was seeing the same name in her system, so she pulled the offers. I had to go and prove to her that that was totally different person. I got the police reports, we used them. She eventually went back to her supervisor, and she got the ability to reinstate the $200,000 offer, and we were actually able to negotiate up to $225,000. He wound up not getting the surgery, so we settled the case for $225,000, and he was extremely happy. And that was a little lesson we learned about maybe taking the money while it's hot and it's ready and it's right there on the table, as opposed to trying to go back and negotiate more with another doctor's report. We're always trying to get the most for our clients, obviously, but there's a fine balance there. And sometimes if you push the envelope too hard, once in a while they push back. Now, this very, very rarely happens unless something drastically changes, like they find a photo of your client doing jumping jacks on a trampoline when they say they're really hurt and they can't do anything. Usually they don't pull offers. So this was, for me, it was the first time this had ever happened for me. So it was a very interesting scenario. And, ultimately it all worked out in the end. I got my client the same offer plus a little bit more on top. He didn't wind up needing that second surgery, so a lot of that went into his pocket. So, we all learned a little bit from that one. Anyway, so I'm going to do 7 of these. I'm going to try and see if I can look through all my old cases and work my way up. So today was $225,000 from a case against the United States from a postal truck with a little wrinkle added in there. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a great, great, great holiday season. And I'm going to keep checking in with you guys every day for the next 7 days. Brent Sibley, 𝐍𝐢𝐠𝐡𝐭𝐬. See you in the next one.